Jocelyn, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up. Now if you watched my last video, which was my August TBR, you would know that I'm going to be doing monthly wrap-ups and TBRs. So I will link that August TBR video down below so you can go watch it if you like. But let's just get started on the books I read in July. So first I read Daughter Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I do not have this book on me right now, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But that book was really good. I enjoyed it so much. I'm not really going to get into it just because I have a book talk on it, which I'll link down below. There's a spoiler-free section, and if you've read the book, the rest of the video is all spoilery, and we talk about my feelings and stuff like that. So you can go watch that. But overall, I really did enjoy that book a lot. I actually started it in June and finished it in July, but I decided to include this in the video. After that, I read The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and yes, this is my first time reading it. I know, I'm late. I'm late on the bandwagon, if that's still what you want to call it, because, you know, everybody's read it. I feel like in like 10-20 years, it's going to be a classic. I feel like this is going to be a modern day classic, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it might be a modern day classic, and in like somewhere far in the future, people will be reading this for school. I don't know. That's what I feel like. But I didn't love this book. I really enjoyed it. It was a good transition from a high fantasy book to get more realistic, read a more realistic book. I read this in one day, so, it's not even that long. But, yeah, it was good. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. So, yeah. After that, I read the sequel to Daughter Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. I have a book talk on this as well, so you can go check that out. I'll link that down below. But this book, I liked less than Daughter Smoke and Bone. I liked it, but Daughter Smoke and Bone, I loved it. I really loved that book. But I liked this book. This is one of those situations where people say the sequel isn't as good as the first book, and I totally agree on that for Days of Blood and Starlight. It wasn't until we were here that they started to oh my god, now this is getting good. So yeah, yeah. I bet a lot of people really loved it. I know booktubers who really loved Days of Blood and Starlight. It's all they wanted. But for me, I was like, okay, it's one of those situations where the sequel isn't as good as the first book. Next, I read My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. Oh, this book was so good. I have a book talk on it, a non-spoilery section and a spoilery section. Link that down below. Oh my god, guys. You have to read this book. I'm not kidding. It's so good. This is probably so far one of my favorite reads in 2015. I'm not even kidding. This book was fantastic. I read this in one sitting. This was so good, guys. This was so good. I'm not even kidding how good this book was. It was fantabulous. It was so good. How many times have I said so good so far? That shows you should read this book. I'm not even kidding. This was amazing. Now I'm going to give a little disclaimer. If you get really sensitive with suicidal thoughts and depression, you shouldn't read this book, just because this is basically the main part of this book. This is what the book revolves around: suicidal thoughts and depression. That's basically 95% of this book. So if you are sensitive to stuff like that, I would not read this book, because that will trigger stuff if you're sensitive. But overall, I love this book. If you're not sensitive to stuff like that, go read this, guys. This book was amazing. I cannot stress that enough. I really want to reread this soon. I'm not even kidding. This book was amazing. I can't, guys. I can't. Next, after that, I finally finished the Selection Stories, The Prince and the Guard. Oh my god, this book was the worst thing I've read in my entire life. Okay, maybe not in my entire life, but at least this year. Yeah, this year. This is so bad. So bad. So bad, okay? Most novellas, I'm looking, the majority that I read, I don't like. I don't know what's up with novellas. They're just not good. Like 4, the Divergent novella, didn't like that. I really did not like that. And this novella, I also don't like. Like, this was so boring. I don't understand how you can like this, alright? It's so short, but I actually only read the guard part because I previously read The Prince a few months ago, and that was bad, and I couldn't even get to the guard. So I just finished the guard. That was even worse. I can't even stress how bad this was. I'm not kidding. Like, no, don't read this. Don't waste your time reading this, okay? If you've read all the selection books, just don't waste your time reading this. I'm not kidding. Just, it's not worth your time. Trust me, okay? Trust me. Trust me. And then lastly, I read Dreams of God Monsters by Laini Taylor, the last book in the Dollar Smoking Bone trilogy. Yay! I'm so happy I finished it. I have a book talk on this down below. You can watch it if you want to know more of my thoughts on this. But I love this book. It's tied with Dollar Smoking Bone. Those two are tied, and then, you know, there's Days of Blood and Starlight, my least favorite out of the trilogy. But I got like this weird, you know, when you read a final book in the series, and then I explained this in my book talk before I got like all spoilery. But you know, when you read the last book in the series or trilogy and you expect it to be the epic finale, and like your expectations are so high, like they're extremely high, and then when you read it, there's no way a book's ever going to reach those high expectations because you put those on an unrealistic level of like awesomeness for books, right? And there's no way a book's going to reach that level. You just know that, but you won't admit it, and then you read the book and you're like, oh my god, that's not what I wanted. It wasn't the epic conclusion I wanted. Even though it actually might be the conclusion you wanted, you just don't know that because you set your expectations too high. This happens to me all the time. It happened with City of Heavenly Fire, it happened with this book, it happened with a lot of conclusions. It happened with, Mockingjay. It happened with more books that I just can't name off the top of my head right now. But it happened with a lot of books that I was expecting too much from the last book. I wanted something epic and the best thing basically in the entire world. So, don't do that, guys. Just don't do that. Take it from me. Do not do that. It ruins your expectation. It ruins your experience reading the book. Sorry. But I've had a couple days to think through this, you know, after reading it. That's what you usually have to do after you set your expectations too high for a final book. And usually you'll either not like it, but majority of the time you'll learn to appreciate the book and really love what it is. And that's what I did. And this came sooner than, like, my realization came sooner than it did with, like, City of Heavenly Fire. That took me, like, 3 days to a week to really get the full impact on the book. But this only took me, like, the day after it. And now I really, like, get the whole experience now. I love this conclusion. The ending was great. There were slow parts, but I think that's just because I marathoned these too fast. I know I took that break with the books in the middle, but that was still, those are really short books that I finished in one sitting. So really it was like I finished a book one day, then read those short contemporaries the other day, finished them, and then the next day I started a new book, and then I finished it in a couple of days to a week, and then I read them, and then I read the next one. So I think it's because I marathoned these too fast, and they are really high fantasy with a lot of world building and a lot of explaining that my mind couldn't, like, take it all in at once because that was a lot of fantasy stuff. But I want to reread this series. It isn't my favorite series of all time because it takes a lot to get up on that list, but I definitely did really love this series. I loved it. It earns the word love from me. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's what I read in July. I would like to know what you guys read in July. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!